On this episode of Rock River Rails, we travel to North Freedom, Wisconsin, a quiet village along the Baraboo River in Sauk County. Located about 5 miles west of Baraboo, North Freedom has a population of around 600 residents and is home to the Mid-Continent Railway Museum. We're here today to document the return of Chicago and Northwestern locomotive number 1385. The locomotive was built in March of 1907 by the American Locomotive Company's Schenectady Works location, and 325 of these 82-ton class R1s were built for the C&NW. Although designed for fast freight service, they were also used on secondary passenger trains and local switching across the Midwest. 1385 is preserved as it was retired in 1956, and in 1961, Mid-Continent members purchased the locomotive from Chicago and Northwestern for $2,600. The engine powered the museum's trains since their first season at North Freedom in 1963, and also ran many goodwill tours across Wisconsin while remaining in service until 1998. On July 1st, 1998, number 1385 came out of service, requiring major repairs. After several years out of commission, repair work began in 2011, beginning the most extensive locomotive rebuild the museum has ever tackled. Fast forwarding to 2025, the return of the locomotive was delayed by transportation issues, and an announcement was eventually made that 1385 would return to Mid-Continent on July 12th to finish her restoration and hopefully be back in service in the near future. 1385 is one of only 8 C&NW locomotives that have been preserved. We'll take a look around the museum a bit and then check out the homecoming ceremony. The museum at North Freedom has over 40 combined locomotives and rolling stock on the property, and also operates a 7-mile, 55-minute round-trip train ride on a former Chicago and Northwestern branch line within a valley between the Baraboo Hills. Passengers board at the historic wooden depot built in 1894, and we're set up now waiting on the 3 p.m. departure. Locomotive 1256, a Baldwin RS4 TC-1A, is in charge of the coach train. Built for the U.S. military, the unit was designated for road switcher service, 4th Military Class Transportation Corps. After the 2008 flooding that affected the museum, the locomotive's running gear was completely rebuilt. While the coach train is headed out and back, we'll take a look around the museum grounds. We weren't able to see everything during our visit, but we'll definitely be back to see what we missed. After wandering around for a bit, we see GE 45 tonner number 4, which was built in January 1943 for the U.S. Navy. The switcher is paired with Union Tank Car 17550 and Sioux Line Caboose number 203. the coach train returns from its out and back trip, and with its return, revenue service comes to an end for the day. As switcher number 4 repositions 1385's tender, anticipation builds for the homecoming ceremony, and a sizable crowd starts to gather. The journey for Chicago and Northwestern Alco 460, number 1385, to return to Mid-Continent Railway Museum has finally ended as she sits just beyond the bridge past the Baraboo River. Over the past week, 1385 was hauled by truck from Spec Machine LLC, where she sat and underwent restoration for the past several years, to a nearby facility along the Wisconsin and Southern Railroad. She was then loaded onto a flat car and moved on WSOR's Reedsburg subdivision to the interchange with Mid-Continent in North Freedom. The museum's Alco S1 diesel number 7 will shortly shove 1385 and her tender towards the platform to break a banner made specially for her return. After many years away, Chicago and Northwestern, number 1385, rounds the curve by the platform and returns to home rails, where she truly belongs.
Okay, if everybody could stay past the red brick road. On the platform, here comes our tender. Nick actually works for the WSOR, pretty much grew up on the property. He is a professional railroader. Adam comes from a railroading family background. He's been with us for a good number of years. He's actually one of our directors. And there we have it, folks. 1385, back with her tender for photos. Okay, now we're all put together. We're going to start our little program here. Volunteer Museum. By a show of hands, how many here are members of Mid-Continent? Put your hands up if you're members. A few. We are always open for membership. Basic membership is $50 a year. For $50 a year, you get a discount in the gift shop. Mike has been the project leader on this engine since the beginning. I always give our project heads a great round of applause because this is a hard project to see through from beginning to end. A lot of people, you lose faith, you lose interest, you can't fund it, and as we know, a great number of these get taken apart and never get put back together again. So to be able to volunteer your time for this number of years and dedicated to this says a lot for the crew. And our dedication has shown and paid off because
it was built by the Northwestern in that time. And these were a large engine in 1907 for the Northwestern. She ran until 1956 and ran all over the Northwestern system. In the beginning, pulling passengers, and towards the end of her life, assigned to freight duties. Spending the last years of her life in Escanaba. We take those numbers. That means she worked in her working career 49 years on the railroad. Not a lot of locomotives, steam locomotives, made 49 years on the railroad. So it's just a testament to her. But that's not where her life ended. 1961, the founding members scraped together $2,600. $2,600, right? That was the scrap value in 1961 of the R1, 1385. They scraped that together and brought it to our site that was in Hillsboro at that time. 1963, she was moved along with the museum to this site you see here today. And just a little bit of history on this site. When they purchased this site, there was a set of tracks in the ground. Everything else you see here has been built by this organization over the years. The depot moved in, the yards, the houses, the display sheds, all of that was built here. There was no railroad here in 1963 when they came here. The engine ran in 1963 here at the museum, and then occasionally during the 70s. In 1981, the Northwestern came to us with an opportunity to get her out on the main line. And that's where she gained her claim to fame, running numerous mainline trips throughout the 80s and 90s. When she did that, the Northwestern worked. Some work was done on it so she could make those trips. But there was thousands of miles put on this locomotive out on the main line. And one of the really cool things this week that's gone on with all the social media posts about the moves and the crane lifts are the people that bring up their memories, right? Because it's just a piece of iron, right? I love steam locomotives. It's a piece of iron. But it has touched people's lives, because when you see people writing on social media, I remember when I was 4 and my dad took me out there to see the 1385 pull the circus train. I remember seeing the circus train in Green Bay. All of these social media posts about the locomotive. It has made a huge impression on people's lives that they remember this locomotive. And I think if we look at it, probably the thing that has made it most memorable for a lot of people when I talk to them is its time with the Great Circus Train. Well, the Great Circus Train in 1985, 1986, and 1987. Just a huge, huge amount of publicity that went around there. However, June 30th, 1998, her fire went out for the last time. Coming out of service for some major repairs at that point, was rolled into the engine house and work began. Unfortunately, as it came apart, the amount of work needed was way more than anybody expected. 49 years on the railroad, the years running here, the mainline miles had taken its toll. It came apart, and there wasn't the funding at that point to put her back together. She got pushed down to the line, to the engine house, and sat there forlorn for several years. However, in 2011, Dick and Bobby Wagner came forth in the Wagner Foundation and threw out a challenge grant to see the 1385 run again. And that's what sparked this rebuild. Their generosity and their drive to see this locomotive run is what got us to this point today. As we worked with the Wagners, there was one thing that was very clear. They wanted to put together a locomotive that generations to come could see run. And what did that mean? What does that mean? That means we're going to take this locomotive apart, and that's what we did, and look at every nut, bolt, pin, and rebuild it from the ground up. When we look at this locomotive is what I would say is a 0-mile locomotive, meaning it was sitting there as a bare frame, every pin, every bushing taken out, inspected, replaced. And we used a lot of the practices that were in place at the end of the steam era, which is the late 1950s, to rebuild it. All welded boiler, something that was coming into play as steam went out. All welded tender, all things that were standard practices by that point. And we did this to give it the longevity. And this locomotive today, with proper maintenance and care going forward, should last for generations to come. And as members and people here, if we think back, just 2 months ago we were here, we did a major rail relay project on this track all the way to the pit. Over $1.5 million for a rail relay. And when Dave Bierman, our superintendent, talked, he said the same exact thing. We put together a rail line with proper maintenance that will last for 100 years to come. So these are great things for the future of our museum. I look out here and I see a lot of people, and I know a lot of people that have donated to this project. And that's how this project got done, is through donations. Right now this project is in the $3 million mark. And those donations are all from you people. From people out there who care about locomotives, who want to see steam run again. And without you, we can have the best contractors, we can have the best facilities, but this won't happen. So a huge hats off to everyone here today that donated to make this happen. Secondly, we're not done. You can see there's work left to do, right? The plywood on the cylinders aren't final, right? We have about $300,000 worth of work left to finish this locomotive. So I'm going to put a shameless plug out here. We're doing a cab experience auction today. If you go into the depot, in there you can fill out an auction form and you can have the chance to win a cab experience when this locomotive is running. Not only helped us, but they figured out ways to help us financially, doing reduced costs on labor, letting us supply volunteer labor to help them, and some of them going as far as donating the complete work they did. So just a huge hands off to these people, because without them, this wouldn't have happened. So with a project this big, no one person can pull this off. There's no one name that got this project done. We've talked about it. We've talked about donors, volunteers, contractors. But there is a few people I want to call out today that have been there throughout this to help us do this. Without them, this wouldn't have happened. And that's my 1385 task force that helped me. I'm project manager, but it's the group that helped. And they were called the 1385 task force. And this group met weekly as we went through this project to get this done. So I have, as I do projects in industry, I always have a gift when we complete a project for my main crew. A lot of times they're fun gifts or something that went wrong on the project, or somebody maybe made a mistake and we framed it for them. So I put together a gift for our 1385 task force, and we're going to hand those out. How Dick and Bobby came forth and put out the challenge grant. But Bobby didn't stop there. 6 months after we started this project, Dick unfortunately passed away. Week before that, he was here helping take the locomotive apart so we could ship it. Very special days yet in my heart, knowing that he was here in his final days working with us because he had such a passion to see this done. But Bobby took that and ran with it. And she joined the task force. She joined the board of directors here, and she has been instrumental in a lot of the things that have been done here. So the first one goes out to Bobby Wagner. The second one goes out to Jeff Lenz. Jeff is our office manager here. However, Jeff donates a ton of time. We have our meetings at night. Jeff joins us for those meetings. He takes care of our meeting notes. He takes care of scheduling, which trying to get 6 people, many of them still working and traveling, to get that schedule every week to happen is just great. The next one is Bob Anderson. Bob is on our task force. Bob is our treasurer here at Mid-Continent. He has been at every 1385 meeting, every week we've had it. In discussions with him, he has told me that he has learned way more about steam locomotives than he ever wanted to know, but he has been just a great asset to us, helping us financially, working through what we're doing. So Bob Anderson. Jeff Hootenberg. Jeff Hootenberg is our vice president. And Jeff came in as vice president and said, I don't know what I'm going to do to help you guys. I don't know anything about a steam locomotive, but I'm going to be here. And he has been. And what Jeff has done is orchestrated our volunteers. Instead of me having to get on the phone and call volunteers, figure it out, I called Jeff. We talk in the weekly meeting. And Jeff pulls together the volunteers, makes the phone calls, get it scheduled. This spring, we had a contractor in doing piping on the locomotive. All the piping you see done on it was done by a contractor. And they said, if you can find volunteers, we won't send an apprentice along. It'll save you $70 for every hour they're on site. Jeff put volunteers together to be there every day for 6 weeks straight to help them out. Huge, huge to the museum. Any other time we needed something to be done, he found volunteers, and many times.
Even though he's hiding way on the end.
Yes, he's hiding. The next one I have
Thanks, Hope.
is Andy Spinelli. Andy is our president. And Andy has a million things going on and works. And he always has time for this project. Middle of the night, late nights, early mornings, Andy, we have this, I need help with that, I can't be there for this, can you look at this, what do you think of this? Andy was always there, always willing to pick up the phone and help us get this done, on top of the 100 other things he has going, operating this museum as a volunteer presence. So Andy, thank you for everything you've done. And my last two. These are my co-project managers. Ed Ripp is our Chief General Foreman of Steam. Ed, where are you hiding? I know you're hiding.
Right here.
Oh, he's not hiding too far.
Come on.
Ed is always there, works full-time for the railroad. We have spent countless evenings on the phone, on conference calls, electronic calls, taking care of management items on it, taking care of design items on it, how we're going to get projects done. Ed never says no. It's like, how are we going to get this done? So just I can't say enough about Ed and Pete's help, and we'll talk in a minute about Pete, but it's not only a friend, they're like brothers. We talk multiple times a week about this project, and I can't say enough good. It would not have happened without these two guys. They kept me sane. And last, but certainly not least, this is my dearest friend, Pete Dietz.
Back here.
Pete comes with some special items that help us with this project. And that is, he fired this locomotive before it came out of service. Pete also was involved in the crew that helped disassemble it. I never seen this locomotive together. Ed's never seen this locomotive together. From an operational standpoint, as a kid, I seen this locomotive together in one piece. Ed's seen this locomotive together in one piece. We didn't take this locomotive apart. It was disassembled when we started. Pete was fortunate enough to be here. So there's many times we tap on Pete and say, Pete, what was this, what was that? So Pete has been instrumental there. Pete is also my calm. I might be a little high-strung. If you haven't noticed, I'm not very good at standing still. Everybody around works really good because I can walk around and look. Pete is my calm, and I just can't also say enough about what we've done. Thank you so much for being there throughout this project. What I would like everyone to take away this evening, big dreams happen when everyone works together. No single person can make a project happen. However, a group of dedicated, focused people with goals in mind can make anything happen. And that's what's been done here. So thank you and enjoy your day.
But we're not done yet. So a little bit about what you heard about, Mike talking about. When you're involved with people this much and this close, you really become family, which is very special. We're more than a museum. We're more than volunteers. We respect one another. Our wives get along. The kids come and become part of the museum. And you have a bond that's unbelievable when you do this kind of work together. So, I joined the museum. I was involved at other museums, and we had the big flood here. And what's special about Mid-Continent is that flood came, and we didn't let it kick our butts. It made us stronger. Every time we've had a problem around here, we've put multiple heads together, and we've actually come out stronger. So this locomotive was one of those that it was in a million pieces. These guys didn't take it apart, and it's like, you know what, we're going to make this happen. And we did. So I can't thank them enough. We've got a couple others here. There's Mac and Colin O'Brien. Where are you at, Mac and Colin? Come on up. As I mentioned, the O'Brien family has been involved with this museum for multiple generations. Their dad, I give a lot of credit to the reason why 1385 is famous. As Mike said, it's a piece of iron. That's all it is. There's many steam locomotives torn apart or together in parks, and they're just steam engines. This engine really became famous not because of the Northwestern, because of Mid-Continent and the Northwestern together. And it took somebody, another volunteer, to head all that up. Insurance, where to get water, where the route's going to be, and actually running it out on the road. Their dad did a lot of this, putting this together. And it's really what made the 1385 famous, because now we all have stories to tell. We remember it as a kid, or Grandma and Grandpa saw it, or my mom and dad saw it. So it made memories for many, many years because of what Tom had done. And thank goodness, because of the task force, it's going to make a lot more memories. So, O'Brien's, take it away.
Toss it to the favorite, O'Brien.
Oh, come on.
Right, you had a chance to hand it to Colin, you handed it to me. So as Andy said, and other people have said, our dad was Tom O'Brien Jr. And the joke is that when he married my mom in 1972, that my dad took my mom here to Mid-Continent for their honeymoon. My dad and his dad, Tom Sr., were members, followed by their respective wives. Similar to our situation, our respective wives are members. Our dad wore many hats here. He was trainman, superintendent of operations, president, engineer. But one of his proudest legacies was working with the likes of Chris Berger and the Chicago and Northwestern Railway to get the 1385 out on their system as a goodwill ambassador, steaming across the Midwest. In addition to being a stickler for a very clean and tidy cab of the 1385, Dad was a teacher of other steam preservationists and the kids who would come and see the engine on its cross Midwest tour. I have a picture here I'll leave up by the locomotive of our dad talking to some kids who came out to see the 1385. So Colin and I grew up in the cab of the 1385. I can remember climbing up in what seemed like a 100-foot tall cab. We'd be given explicit instructions to stay out of the way. We'd squish in behind Dad's seat in the cab, and it's not lost on Colin or myself how lucky we were to spend our weekends riding shotgun in the R1. Weekends that would be all the more cherished when Dad died unexpectedly in 1999. After his unexpected death, my mom donated money toward the 1385, hoping to earmark the money for the locomotive's voice, the whistle. She claimed she could tell Dad was engineer by his feathering of the whistle. The 1385 is so much more than 137 tons of steel, as we talked about, of steam, water, and coal. She's the memories of those who love and loved her. And in our family, 1385 is literally a household number. PIN code, garage code, iPhone unlock code. Please don't rob me. There are certainly many steam locomotives around the world, but there's only one R1 1385. And she's back thanks to a Herculean effort. And our dad would be incredibly proud that she's home. So cheers to the 1385 team, the supporters, the members, the donors, and those who have cheered her on her return to North Freedom, Wisconsin, her home. Welcome home.
Thank you, Matt and Colin. Can't thank you guys enough. With that, we also are going to hand it over to Pete Dietz. Pete, take it away.
Talk about tough acts to follow. One thing I would like to say to everyone, thank you. Thank you, all the way around. So, whoops, sorry. Hornet, you wouldn't like it around here. I've had many people say, oh, well, you got this done. You got her home. You got this to this point. No, I respectfully correct each one. We got her here. Son of a gun. This is a rare moment. You find me almost speechless. Yes, I was the last volunteer fireman on the engine. She ran 2 more days afterward. Bob Dishler was also crew on the engine through the years as she was running, and we do have some other people still here, still with us. We're going to teach the other folks who are interested how to run this engine once again, how to maintain this engine. Ed, I'm going to take a little thunder from Mike for the moment. On behalf of the 1385 task group, our task was to get the engineering done, to get the engine delivered to the museum. So now the steam department has charge of it. We turn the engine over to you. And the last thing that I would like to say, the t-shirt that I have on was issued the last day of service of the locomotive. So on my back is a picture of the engine as she was going into the engine house for the very last time, the date, and it says, "I'll be back." Guess what?
She's back.
Here she is.
Thank you, Pete. Yeah, it was interesting because I actually met Pete many years ago over some debate and discussion over the 1385 and its restoration. And we've become very close through the years. I've learned a lot from Pete. I hope maybe I haven't gotten under his skin too much. We're truly a family around here. Mid-Continent is more, most people think we're a train ride. And that's it. We go to the quarry and back. There's a lot more to Mid-Continent, as I mentioned. We've got this brotherhood and sisterhood bond at the museum. We've got the steam locomotive department. We also have some other famous equipment here. We've got the Montana Western, which is the oldest EMC or electromotive piece of equipment around. We just rebuilt its Winton engine, which is very historic. We're working on the Elko RSC2, the Milwaukee Road 988. Did a $250,000 rebuild on its trucks. They're like brand new motors, wheels, everything. So when we do things, we try not to do things on the cheap. As Bobby had taught us, we've kind of learned, you're going to pay now or you're going to pay later. And it's usually cheaper to do it today than to do it tomorrow. So some of these projects, folks, might take a while, but we really appreciate you sticking it out and being in our corner as we get these things done, because this is big work and it's expensive and it's specialized. So it's not going to get done overnight. As I mentioned, please, if you're not a member, feel free to get an application and join. That way you could join in on the fun. Also see the schedule and what we're running and what we're doing and come out for some of the work sessions. I'm going to conclude with Monday. We're going to be doing the lift right here. Just the other side of the Great Crossing. Everybody is welcome back. We're going to be lifting the 1385 off of the flat car, putting it onto the tracks, and then meeting it with the tender. So at that point, it's going to be kind of interesting to put the two together. We think they're all going to line up. And come on up, Bobby. You're welcome. We're family. And then we're actually going to do some photos out here in front of the depot, and then we're going to put it into the engine house to finish her off. So, Bobby, take it away.
It's great to see so many people here, and I thank you all for coming and for supporting it for so long. And it is a wonderful day for us to be here with the 1385. I want to make one addition.
And just like that, Chicago and Northwestern, number 1385, is back on home rails. As mentioned during the ceremony, there is still time, money, and work left to do to get the locomotive back running again. If you're interested in donating to the cause, please visit the museum's website shown on the screen. We'd like to thank Mid-Continent and all those involved in the restoration process and efforts of 1385. That's going to wrap up this episode of Rock River Rails. We thank you for watching, and as always, we'll see you next time.